Good morning, everybody. Corey here, going to go over the trades and holdings for the single stock ETFs for YieldMax. Sorry I didn't do these last night. I did end up going to bed extremely early because I was so tired. Just a reminder, the YieldMax ETFs are extremely risky. See the highlighted risk below, and you can find them in detail and defined on the YieldMax ETF website. My daughter is asleep in the room behind me, but I will try my best to talk directly into the iPad so you can hear me okay, I hope. We will jump straight into the holdings tab. The only time that we need to necessarily go back to the trades tab is to review and evaluate what happened with Tesla yesterday. But you know what? I'm sitting at my desk, so instead of me sitting here trying to hold my iPad and hurt my hands even more than they already do, I'm going to prop this up, and then hopefully also there's no issues with me handling and constantly moving. And honestly, I don't even know if y'all can hear that, but usually I'm having to hold my iPad, so I'm having to constantly move it as my hands hurt. But anyway, so let's jump into AIYY. Sorry, I'm looking at the time. For time's sake, I am not going to read the yesterday's prices as far as where they closed at. And y'all let me know. So I have been doing it all this time for the last, 2 or so months. Let me know, do you want me to continue to read the close price for the day before here or not? I know it's here for you to see. There's lots of things for you to see here. Of course, not everybody necessarily watches the screen and is trying to just listen as they're doing things versus watching the screen. So let me know. And, whatever the majority says, yes or no, is what I will go with from here on out. But, all right. I won't do it for this time. I know I still have the Ulti video to do. I'm only doing this one first because I know Ulti's going to take me the longest to do for the trades and holdings. So I'm trying to knock out as much as possible since I spent a lot of time on my workbook and messing with the estimates video, which I still haven't done. But I was trying to make some changes due to some comments from yesterday. All right, so we'll jump in here. AIYY. And I can tell right off the bat that this is not right. All right, I apologize. I fixed that. Give it a second there to refresh. I'm not sure even what happened because the holdings wasn't even posted last night when I copied or did all the trades data there. All right, so that finally came over. So here we can see by the red May 3rd, those expire this Friday, and this is the one I was talking about. I don't know if it was on this video or the daily roundup. Obviously, it had to be on the daily roundup because I'm just getting started here. But these are the only ones that will expire this week, and that's only because when they closed them out before, cost them like $5 or $6 a share because they were so far below the $35 strike price that they previously had. They only pushed it out a few weeks. So here we are. The rest of the synthetic positions will expire on May 17th, which is less than 3 weeks away. But they added to the synthetic position here, and then they created a new short call for the 690 contracts with a $24 strike price. So you see we have a $23 and a $24 strike price for the short calls that expire Friday. and the close price was $23.10. So we're currently 10 cents over the $23 strike price, which is also where the majority of our contracts sit. As you can tell, there's almost 12,000 contracts sitting there. And we're looking good this second for our synthetic position. Honestly, depending on what happens tomorrow with FMOC, I don't know if there's any other stuff that could happen this week, but that could mess this up for us. We will see if they will, maybe close this out before then and make it a further out expiration date, but we will see. So just looking over here in column AB to see how this is affecting the share price, so we can see the short call there where we're over the strike price by 10 cents is bringing the share price down 33 cents. And then our synthetic position currently, because we are over the strike price for the synthetic position by 55 cents, it is bringing the stock price up 56 cents. Which then reminds me, so for those of you that don't already know, for the strike prices, normally what you're wanting is your stock price to be above the synthetic strike price and below the short call strike price. Just know that the synthetic positions are put on normally a couple of months in advance. Therefore, there may be times that the short call strike price may be below the synthetic strike price just due to the stock price changes, and the short calls are weekly. I did hide column C, I believe, last week, and I don't know. I still just don't know. I don't know. I haven't done anything since I've really closed it last week. I don't know how accurate it is or not or what. And it's just really hard to tell when I go back and look and try to, see, well, was it right or not? It's hard to tell. But this column I built, I don't know, a week or two ago to show column AC, possibility of the stock price increasing for a short call. So in this example, obviously we can see the short call. Sorry, I may think about this because I don't think I've looked at one that's been over. So if we look at the one that we are under, the short call for the $24 strike, this is showing that this could raise up possibly, another 3 cents a share for AIYY. Of course, the one above it, the 23, that is causing us to be negative. I guess here, if we can come down below the strike price, then that right there will reduce that the stock could go down probably 5 cents. And so this is where I have a problem with this, and maybe we should only be using this column for positive numbers going up, which I guess makes sense now that I think about it, because this price is going to, this and this and this is going to get way worse than this would, just looking at the stock price, because like you can see here, it's 10 cents over, but it would cost us 68 cents to close out, right? So that's why this is so much more than this. So maybe what I need to do is change this column to only show if it's a positive value, to show you, what this could possibly increase. And again, it may not even be, right. This is, again, it's just an estimate anyway, but still, I am always scared to show inaccurate information, which is why I ended up finally hiding it, because I couldn't prove this column. So I don't know. I'm sure most of you, if I ask you, you're just going to tell me to leave it and show it and whatever. But y'all can let me know what you think in the comments, assuming you're even watching this section here. But what I want to do, I definitely want to change that to only show positive. So unless I change my mind and I think of another reason, but right now I'm going to do this to make me come back and re-look at that. All right. Let's move on. I apologize for the lengthiness of that. So AMDY, they added 95 contracts to the synthetic positions and created a new short call for those 95 contracts expiring on Friday. Sorry, it just made me think. I wanted to look at something. All right, so we'll just go forward knowing that our short calls, all of them expire this Friday with the exception of one. And that's for Tesla, and that'll keep you from having to hear me say how it expires Friday. But we have the two short calls here, strike prices of 170 and 175, and we're currently underneath those 6 and 8%, and then we're slightly over our synthetic call, or synthetic strike price there. And then you can see over here, oh, I'm sorry, I did say I would show that now. If we're looking at, our estimate column AC, assuming this is somewhat correct, the stock price could increase up to roughly $1 before it hits the max strike price. And let's move on. So AMZ, we have no trades to show here. We do have two short calls with a strike price of 185 and 190. We're underneath those by 2 and 5%. Then we have our strike price for a synthetic at 185, which we're under 2% there. So we can see that synthetic position is bringing the AMZ stock price down by 45 cents a share. And we can see here these showing negative 18 and negative 35 cents a share for AMZ here. And that's just based on the market values of yesterday, and I do not have it pulled up in front of me. But if you've watched my, let's see if I can pull it up real quick. That's not what I want. If you've watched my earnings video that basically just goes over what happened the previous week, what's coming up for the next week, and looking at a few things there. So let me just go ahead and pull this up. So yeah, we had MicroStrategy yesterday. And then today, hold on. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I forgot that Tuesday was a day. I was thinking, I know new Thursday, but yeah, that's how quickly I forgot. So pre-market today we had PayPal, and then post is Amazon and AMD today. And then we have the rest of the week. We have Moderna, Apple, Block, Coinbase the rest of the week. All right, so AMZ reports after the market closed today. So we'll see how this affects, and I'm sure, the volatility around these is making this value to be higher than normal because it expires this week. So we're usually, once we get closer, it's, that's a little bit down. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong here. I'm not an options person, but usually, once we're in the week of the short call, and as long as we're not, at or near the strike price, then usually it's not, these right here aren't that high to the stock price. So if anybody knows, feel free to type it in the comments, but I usually don't see that and I can only assume it's due to earnings and I don't know what's going on this week. Anyway, we're showing over here that there is a possibility of increasing the stock price by about 90 cents based on the strike prices, of course. With that said, with the 190, yeah, it could bring it up 81 if you get up to 190, but the 185 is going to start to drag that down after it gets above 185. So just keep that in mind as we look at these. And I just threw my pencil on the ground. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to Apple here. So we have no trades. We do have the short call strike price of 175 and 177.50. So we're only $1.50 underneath that first one. So we're underneath those by 1 and 2%. And I did say Apple reports this week. We're 2% above our synthetic there. So if we look over here to the right, the synthetic position is actually bringing the stock price up 36 cents there. And then we show here a possibility of I don't know if that minuses the penny or not that requires these to close out, but anyway, possibility of bringing the stock price up roughly 20 cents. Again though, once one gets above, then it'll start bringing it down. So I don't even know. Then that brings in the question, should this be adjusted more? Yeah, that is a good question, because then that's, to me, it sort of makes it look would make it, false, right? If it's saying it'll could bring it up 26 cents. Yeah, total it could bring it up 26 cents. But again, once it goes over that one, it's going to start bringing it down. So would it really be 26 cents? And maybe that's where I just take out that sum at the top altogether, because it makes it look like it could come up a total of 26, and that is not actually accurate. Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's another thought I have there. Let's move on. I know that's what you're saying. So we have Coney here. They added 455 contracts to the synthetic position and to the short call with a strike price of 255. So we have two short calls, the 250 and the 255, and we're underneath those by 14%. And then we're underneath our synthetic strike price by 16%. That 16% is bringing down the, sorry, my internet just turned off. But that synthetic position is bringing down the Coney share price by $4.47 there. If we look at over there, it looks like a possibility of the share price increasing by $3.40 based on the $255 strike price there. Let's move on to Dizzo. I'm getting hungry. All right, we have no trades here. We have our short call of strike price 114, which we're under by 2%. We also have our synthetic position, which we're under by 7%. As you can see, by being underneath that 7%, it is bringing the stock price down roughly $1.37. Possibility of the stock increase of 34 cents based on the short call strike price of 114. If we move on to Phoebe, they added 70 contracts to the synthetic position with the 525 strike price, which is interesting. I'm guessing because they made so much money, but at the same time, that's almost $100 below the strike price, and it expires in less than 3 weeks. I don't know. I guess the expectation is this one will come back up. And then they added to the short call with the 437.50 strike price. So if we look here, we have 3 short calls, 437.50, 450, and 455. We're underneath those by 1, 4, and 5%. That 1% one is we're less than $5 away from that one. However, our synthetic positions are extremely bad, and I think this is the worst one out of all of them on the daily roundup. I can't remember, but we're underneath those 16 and 18%. Yeah, so if we look over here on the right hand side, those synthetic positions are bringing the stock price down roughly $4 a share. Now, and this goes back to, understanding what these really mean over on the right hand side. And maybe that's, again, maybe I need to take that total off the top of that column AB as well. Because, in this case, yeah, if we say this week got above those strike prices, yeah, it'd be great for the synthetic prices, but now our short calls would be extremely bad because we'd be way over the strike prices. And I believe this is a summary of everything there, just like the other one. Yeah, so that tells me I need to take that away too. I just need to put titles back on these columns, or put titles on these columns. I never had them there to begin with, but yeah, I need to change those. I know, I'm sorry, I'm never going to get through things, but I tried to, I try to make these things the best that I can for y'all. I'm just going to do it on my computer. It's so much easier. Okay. Let's make sure I went everything. Yeah, let's keep moving on here. We have GUI with no trades, 2 short calls, strike price of 160 and 175. So we are above the 160 by 4%, which you can see is the market value there shows are bringing the stock down 37 cents a share. And it looks like we have our short calls split between the two. So we have the 175 strike price there. Also, we're underneath that one by 5%. All right. I'm sorry, I did end up having to pause the video, and I don't recall where I was at here. So I apologize if I repeat myself, but we have our synthetic position here that's bringing the stock price down roughly 38 cents a share because we're underneath that by 2%. And then we have our short call here with the 160 strike, which we are over by 4%, which is $6.15. So the market value here shows it bringing the the GUI share price down by 37 cents based on, again, the market value. Of course, if we were looking at just the $6.15 we were over versus the $6.68 we were over, that comes out to negative 34 cents a share that we see in column AC. As far as our short call for 175 there, we are 5% over that, so it's bringing the stock price up. I'm sorry, not bringing the stock price up, but there's a possibility that the stock price could rise 47 cents based on that. But again, just a reminder, it's still, if we still had the 160, it's not going to, because that one is going to keep going further in the negative. Okay, let's move on to JPMO. We have no trades to go over here. 2 short calls, 195 and 197.50. We are underneath those 1 and 2%. So to that first one, we are $1.72 away there. And then we have our synthetic position there, in which we are underneath the strike price by 3%. which you can see on the right hand side is bringing the stock price down by 64 cents a share. As far as the short calls go, it looks like the stock price could possibly increase up to, let's say, roughly 11 cents on these two. Because, again, if we go above the 195, it'll start going down. Or not down, but it will cost us more money to close that one out. All right. Let's move on to Murni. So no trades to go over. Short call. Strike price is 108, and Moderna yesterday jumped $100 to 111.62. So usually this isn't a big mover. So I guess something happened yesterday. I didn't really hear. I don't know. I didn't hear what was going on there, though I do recall that they do have earnings this week. So maybe that's it. I don't know off the top of my head. But we're 3% over that strike price, but we're actually over our synthetic position now, which we weren't before. So we can see the synthetic is up, bringing the share price up 40 cents. However, because we are above the short call strike price by 3%, it's bringing the share price down by $1.24. Again, based on the market value at that $6.56 a share, but we're currently over the strike price by, $3.62 a share. All right, let's move on to MSFO. So we do have some trades here. We have, they added 65 contracts to the synthetic position and created a new short call with the 65 contracts with a strike price of 407.50. So we have two short calls, the 407.50 and the 420, and we're underneath those 1 and 4%. However, we were just at 406.32 on Friday, so it's really... of course, it's only 65 contracts there, but all right. Anyway, we have our synthetic position here with a strike price of 425, and we're underneath that by 5%. So we can see that synthetic position is bringing the share price down roughly $1. Well, yeah, it's rounded, but bringing it down $1.19. And this is where maybe if, I don't know how I would go about this calculation, or if, I don't know, I have so much I keep trying to do. I don't know, but obviously here it shows that for the 420, we could increase 86 cents a share for that one. Of course, it will decrease. It would be decreased by the other short call should it stay open. Of course, there's still not a lot of contracts there, but it still can have an effect. Let's move on to Misty. Misty, they added 20 contracts to the synthetic position and created a new short call with the strike price of 14.05. So we have 4 total short calls for the week here. 13.80, 14.05, 14.10, and 14.30 were underneath these strike prices by 6 to 10%. MicroStrategy did report yesterday after the close. I know they hit it, I think 1,193. However, well, I did see them this morning and they weren't that low. I just don't know where they're at this minute. Of course, it's going to change by the time you get to see the video, probably by a couple of hours, depending on how long it takes to upload. I know my videos from yesterday took all day, and one of them all night, all day to upload. But yeah, it looks like right now we're at 12.23, so we're down 5.5% pre-market. But we are above our synthetic, which is awesome at this point, because I would hate for us to go below that. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here, looking at these. So yeah, so looking here, we're probably going to be okay with our short calls for the week. Of course, always depending on what Bitcoin does. The scary thing would be what might happen to the synthetics, because we only have a few weeks left of these. But anyway, it's green across the board this second. So you see that synthetic position up there is bringing the stock price up $3.54 currently. If we look at the bottom, again, here's the individual amounts for the share price increasing. Basically, I would say just look at that first one, the possibility of increasing $1.90, because all of those over it, is going to be nowhere near where this one's going to be with with most of the stocks sitting at this price. So I would say the max that this would increase based on that short call, it would be $1.90 for, again, the short call. So maybe these other ones it would affect, because what we don't include here is anything in reference to the synthetic position and the possibility of increase, right? Because that's basically unlimited. But I don't know how, unless I can go back and find one that had multiple strikes like this over multiple days that I could compare. Anyway, those two columns have me torn. All right, let's go to Nefli here. We have a short call that expires on Friday with the strike. I'm sorry, you knew that, by strike price of $5.70. We are underneath that by 2%, which is roughly $10. And then we have our synthetic position that we're under by 12%, and you can see that is bringing the stock price down roughly $2.27. Possibility of increase for the short call of 31, an additional 31 cents there. We will see. NVIDIA, no trades. We have two short calls. 865 strike price, which we are over, and a 920 strike price, in which we're under by 5%. And we're also under a synthetic position there by 4%. So you can see over here that being under our synthetic is costing us $1.06 a share, which I'm going to be honest with you, I would think it would be a lot more than that. A lot more. But it's not. That's very interesting. I guess because it's only 4%, but I guess I'm looking at $58 a share. But anyway, we do have 17 million outstanding shares there. But then if we go down, and then, this is what I was talking about earlier. So we're over our strike price here. Which causes, that first one to be negative in the right-hand column now. And then we have our 920 strike price that we're 5% under. And I can say that, the possibility of coming up $1.17. However, depending on how far it comes up, this other one could drag it down. Of course, in this case, there's not that many shares there, so I don't think it would be able to drag it down too much. But we'll just have to see. Let's move on to OARC. No trades here. Short call Friday short call for Friday. Strike price is $45, and which we are over by 13 cents. And we're underneath our synthetic position by 10%. So we can see the synthetic is bringing the stock price down roughly $1.26, and looking here, of course, we're currently, the market value is showing negative 27 cents a share, but if we're looking at the actual share prices and what we're over and under, it's 3 cents a share. PayPay here, we have no trades. Short calls 71 strike price, underneath that by 6%, and our synthetic we're above by 3%, so that's good. You can see the synthetics bringing the stock price up 72 cents. And then this one actually reports pre-market this morning. So again, extremely high market value there. Again, I can only guess it's due to earnings and the current volatility of that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it has to be, because options, this market value is based off of what it would have cost to, close that out, close the option out at close today, so it has to be. But anyway, we're showing here that the stock price could come up $1.10, up to that strike price of $71. All right, sorry about that. My daughter's alarm was going off. Therefore, I don't know where I was at. I don't think I got into this one yet. So we have no trades to go over. We have the short calls here with the strike prices of $81, $82, which we are under by 7 and 8%. Then we have our synthetic position that we are currently under by 6%. So you can see the synthetic is bringing the stock price down roughly $1. I keep saying roughly, but it's just rounded by a half a cent or whatever. But bringing the stock price down $1.34, and then this one also has earnings this week. So yeah, I need somebody that does the options just to validate what I'm saying as far as the market value being so big here for these that report this week, just to validate what I'm saying. Max or anybody else watching that knows. I just want to make sure that I am right here. I mean, to me it only makes sense. I don't know what else it would be. But just looking at that negative 60 again, most of these usually aren't like that high unless somebody's actually over the strike price. But then we look over here on the right hand side, and it looks like we could roughly come up $1.80 to that $82 strike price without going over there. All right, let's move on to Tesla. Okay, so Tesla, we have to actually look at the trades here for this morning, or from yesterday. Is this the right tab? Yeah. All right, so unfortunately for those that watch the daily, I did go into this a little bit more in detail because I was trying to figure out what they did here. And so we'll just start with the bottom three, which are our short calls. So these expired this week, this expired this week. You can see it had the same strike price, $177.50. Of course, we were over that. You see it closed yesterday. We were at $194.05. So we were over it by 9% there. They did close that out. The contracts total was 10,790. So you can see it cost them $17.50 or $18 a share to close these out, which is roughly, it was over $9.2 million here, just to close the short calls out. And then what they did is they only opened back up 6,690, and based on the number, so they have been somewhat splitting them, although purchase some this day and another day. But they're usually nice rounded or even numbers, or maybe they closed out one synthetic that only had this many contracts and whatever. In this case, this doesn't meet any of those criteria. And based on me and knowing me, that even though I did not close out of any Tesla shares yesterday, I did end up, my stop losses hit for my Tesla shares and my TSLL shares. So I did close out of those, but some other people might have been just trying to get out of Tesla, and it might have been the time for them. So I just expect that some people probably sold out, and that's why they didn't use the other 4,100 contracts. But usually they would separate these. They would put, where additional people bought in or sold out on 3 separate lines by themselves, and you could match them together. I've noticed recently they're not always doing that, so it's not as clear cut there. So I'm just making an assumption here. But so they did that. It cost them a bunch of money to do. And then you see they have the new short call for next week for May 10th at a strike price of $225 for the 66.90 contracts. Now, that costs a lot of money. The only way for them to cover that is to then close out some of the synthetic positions. So then that would take us to the first 2 lines with a strike price of $170. You can see that those 2 were closed out, and then they made almost, $27 million by closing those out. Of course, that was the whole, 10,790 there. And then they only opened, the 6,690 for the new synthetics with the new strike price of $195. So I just wanted to make sure, that I could get into show all of that, which you can't do just from looking at the holdings. So here we see that new synthetic here. And actually, now that I look at this, and this I didn't catch earlier because I did not look at the holdings, and I thought about it when I was going through the strike prices on the daily, but I didn't want to stop and go back and look again. But they did end up fully closing out the synthetic at the 170. So who knows? Maybe they do have 4,100 shares that they're holding on to. Well, if we look down here, they only have $12 million in cash. I don't know what they normally have cash wise. Let's see. Well, they were in the negative yesterday. So yeah, so they have some cash still sitting there. Of course, they need. Well, okay. Let's go back to today. So all of those up there are treasuries. They also have distributions that have to be paid out this week. So let's just, my handy dandy calculator, as us nerds say. If they paid out 60 cents times 45, 125, 123. I was missing a 0. 60 cents times 4, 5, 125, 123. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 60 cents for the 45 million shares there. If they paid out 60 cents, is $27 million. So, yeah, they're not going to be able to buy back in because they're not going to have the cash to pay the distributions this week. So my expectation, or I expect just by me doing that quickly there and looking at this, unless for some reason, they got money out of the treasury or whatever to cover that, because that would only be roughly half, not even half. All right, anyway. So looking here, we have the short call that does expire this week with the 180 strike price here, and we're over that by 8%. Pre-market, though, earlier, I'm not even going to look because by the time you watch this, it'll probably already be midday anyway, but I will say it did come down. It was down $6 at the time. So I don't know. I guess they're hoping, and I mean, that's 30,000 contracts there. They're hoping that it'll come down, but they have a short call now for next week at the 225 strike price, which we're under 14%. And so now if we look at those synthetic positions, we had the 175 and the 195 strike prices. If we go over here to the right, we can see that the one synthetic, or I mean technically both, but really it's the one synthetic that's bringing the stock price up roughly $1.31 now, because we closed out the other one that was bringing the stock price way up to pay for the short call that was bringing the stock down. But that 8% right there being over for that one short call is bringing the stock price down roughly $1.04. And so again, on the right-hand side, we show, the stock price could come up 40 cents based on the 225 strike price. However, we are over other synthetic. So if it did ever get to that high, it wouldn't even matter, because that other short call, the losses on that one would be way greater than 40 cents. Because we're looking at 30,000 contracts at that price. Anyway, I'm just staring at that, dwelling on it. That's crazy. Okay, Zomo here. We have our short calls here of 119 and 124. We're already over the 119 short call strike price by 64 cents, and we're under the 124 strike price by 4%. We are really close to our synthetic strike price of 120. We are just 36 cents away from there. So not looking too bad over there on the right-hand side. And then as you can see here for the short calls, there's no really coming up from here. If the stock price goes up anymore, it's just gonna keep going further negative there. And then we have YMAG. It ended up closing at 1978 yesterday, and YMAX closed at 2031. Anyway, I will let y'all go. I'm sorry for the delay in this and the possibility of this being a little bit longer than normal. Y'all have a great day. Bye.